Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, everyone. Please tell me, where are you joining us from today? I see Seattle, Bellevue, Chicago. Look at that. We have Florida. We have LA. Beautiful. Chicago. Hi, Pat. See you there. Calgary, North Carolina. Well, we are going, and Pune, India. Looks like we have a lot of people representing a global audience. Very, very excited to have you. I am Chaitra Vedalapalli. I'm the president of Women in Cloud. Really excited to welcome you to be part of the AI fueled B2B go to market summit. So, how many of you are new to Women in Cloud? Put in the chat new. Put in the chat new. There you go. Welcome, Catherine. Welcome, Soumya. Welcome, Anna. Look at that. Bing, bing. Welcome. I'm so excited to have all of you and all the people who already know about Women in Cloud. Welcome to you also. So, a little bit for the new folks, who we are and what do we do. We are a economic development organization really focused on taking a collective action to generate $1 billion of economic access for founders and professionals in a $7 trillion ecosystem. We focus on three areas. We focus on workforce development and also leadership development. But when it comes to workforce development, we are looking at helping everyone who is part of our community to get technically skilled and be ready for the DevSecOps opportunity in the world. And from the leadership development, we are focused on helping women and allies both to gain the executive gravitas and leadership skills so they can lead the industry. What I have heard is the technologies are getting smarter than humans, but humans can be wiser through knowledge and education. So the goal is for us to be wise and know how to use these smart technologies coming on. So you really need to learn the leadership skilling to help you really gain the momentum in the market. The second area is for the workforce development. We focus a lot on co-sell-led go-to-market with hyperscalers for them to really win the mid and the enterprise customer. So today's event is really focused on helping you gain those B2B go-to-market strategies. And the last one is public policy and advocacy work. So we leverage storytelling platform, which is the media, which is mostly the Hollywood platform, and also work with the policy advocates to drive the research and activities. So that's what we do. Is that helpful for the new folks why you are here? You will be prepared. You will have access to amazing community, and you get to be part of a $7 trillion ecosystem as executive leaders in the ecosystem. So welcome. So you're here today. So what's in for you today? So the WICxINSPIRE is really our signature summit that we do in tandem with the Microsoft event, which was the MCAPS event that happened last week. And before that, it was Microsoft Inspire. What the reason was, when Microsoft did the signaling in the world of what partners should be looking at, we basically distilled those go-to-market strategies to help the founders to understand where the investments are, what are the insights, what are the movements changing in the industry, so you could stay ahead, and also provide you the advanced strategies for the go-to-market, and then help you forge those meaningful connections and strategies to help you really embark on the 2025 roadmap. So that's what the Inspire platform was created, and I hope you will learn a lot from today's session. Okay, coming to the sponsors. These are the two amazing sponsors who made that possible. So we are very thankful to EY and Microsoft for sponsoring this signature event. This is what allows you to really understand is how to partner with both the bigger brands, because they care about you, especially women founders. They care about you. They want to see you advance and build $1 million businesses and create the economy where you are actually creating the jobs for the future. So there were 7 takeaways from the MCAPS for partners. How many of you actually attended the Microsoft MCAPS for partners last week? Put it in the chat. I did. If you didn't, I will give you the 7 takeaways from there. Thanks, Kate. And if you had any new learning, please share it in the chat. There were 7 learnings which I want you to take because that's the signal. So the partner program does offer designation for SMB, ISV, and training services for partners to differentiate and showcase your solution. So think about what does that mean to you, what solution you are, and how you are going to differentiate. Microsoft is prioritizing AI security and Copilot partnership with 82% increase in designation and plans to double in the specialization. So I want each one of you to think about what specialization you're going to drive in 2025 so you can stand out in the market. Our partners have experienced 100% growth in transaction and in the marketplace with incentives driving the acceleration and solution focused win. Especially the women founders who were part of the accelerator, they saw that kind of investment come in. They were part of the accelerator for go-to-market, and they also got investment for co-launches. So you'll see more and more those kind of activities coming into the market. Marketplace was a key co-sell focus with 729% increase in AI solution site searches, and with the new AI capability to streamline publishing and increase the discoverability. So if you're not in the marketplace, it's time for you to get your listing and start your planning, your go-to-market for that offer. Microsoft is also adding new AI skilling resource for partners. If you're not listening, go look for it, go sign up to those programs so you'll find out. And then Microsoft is investing over $240 million in incentives for driving customer transformation. Those $240 million is really a go-to-market investment. If you are prepared, you get access to it, mostly in AI, Copilot, and security. And the last one is streamline publishing and increase discoverability of the AI solution on marketplace. Is that helpful for all of you? Like what those takeaways were? If you missed, you have this one as a summary. Out of the 7 takeaway, which one was the takeaway that you are going to work on? Put it in the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Whatever it is, put it in the chat so we know that you're going to be working on it. And you're also giving us a signal that we need to provide more of those resources for you. Okay? So because of this particular game plan that's happening, we do have a very specific asset and a solution that we have created, which is the Skills Ready Challenge, is to really accelerate your AI career and verifiable project-based credentials. So right now, every company is looking for you to have the verifiable project-based credential. This challenge is available. So if you want to get those credentials for AI, you have that opportunity. We just ask you to basically go sign up. You will get access to it. It's a $4,500 value per person to really get ready on the advanced skilling capability. And for the founders, please make your employees take this one, because now you don't have to invest from your budget, because this one is accessible for your ecosystem. Okay. Now, there were a few burning questions that came in of why they are attending or why you're attending the session. Most of you said you want to differentiate your offer. So Catherine, yes, we will talk about that. How can one integrate AI in building a maze enterprise or amazing enterprise solution? The board size, what's the optimal board size? And as a newcomer to the business, what's the first step you need to follow to market? Okay, so if you have any other questions, please let me know in the chat. We will be here to support you through it. So as you engage today, here's how I would love each one of you to do. Be active, be engaged, show up like an icon, because you are putting your time, make the time count for you. It has to drive 10x value. So engage with people, because we do have deep networking sessions set up today after the 3 panels and a keynote. And also engage with emojis. Let's try an emoji of what your excitement is. Find an emoji and share it in the chat for us. Go ahead and connect with speakers. There you go. I love it. Look at the excitement. I like the cheers. And Marissa, go ahead and share the emoji. It is in the GIF next to the chat. Click on it and share that GIF. That is exciting. So that's the kind of excitement we want you to share. Okay, coming to engaging. There you go, Faye. You got it. You're the first one. There you go. We have Marissa sharing the first GIF. Use those emojis to connect with the speakers and everyone to feel like we are here to learn, here to engage, here to connect and make a difference. Okay, one question before I leave, I'll bring on the keynote speakers. So today, when it comes to the B2B go-to-market strategy, what do you want to learn? What do you want to take away? Put it in the chat because we want to make sure the promise is fulfilled by end of the session and we'll come back. What do you want to learn today? Take a moment. I'll wait for you. The difference between go-to-market across different marketplace. Great, Evelyn. So we will have some of the panel speakers address that one. What else? At least if I get two more, then I will hand over to our exciting speakers today. Step for strategy in incorporating AI in interactive software business. Beautiful thing, Renee. Thank you so much for saying that. So with that, I actually wanted to also share, we had a monumental partnership announced this last week, and this week it was all on social. It was a partnership with EY. This one is a monumental because they are a strategic partner with UN, they're a strategic partner with Microsoft, and they are collaborating with us in supporting the women's leadership and development. With that, I want to actually invite Pat Sullivan. He's the global digital engineering lead at EY Consulting. He's also recognized as a C-suite advisor and also an industry change agent. He's not a traditional leader. He's actually has his teams actually focus on outcomes and drive inclusive impact in the ecosystem. Now, personally, I met him when he was at Accenture. One of my I would say he's the strongest ally in the tech industry. So if you don't know him, please reach out to him on LinkedIn because you want to hear his story of why he's so passionate of driving transformation. And also he'll talk about why he led this go-to-market partnership with a Women in Cloud and how he has put together an entire EY ecosystem to focus on driving the transformation. With that, Pat, welcome. We are so excited to have you here.
Hey, Chai, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm full of energy just listening to you get this kicked off today. I mean, this is awesome.
Thank you,
And
Pat.
yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. I've got a different logo behind me in terms of being at EY, which I've been at for a year now. But you know, my motivation and my personal story as to why I've been so focused on working with Women in Cloud, Chai, and the team is, and some people have known this, but I have four sisters. They're the loves of my life, and we talk all the time, and they've done excellent in their careers. But their careers has been different than mine in terms of the path that they have had and the journey that they've had to go through. It has not been the same as mine. And so to be able to leverage my position and my platform to help women, to help people like my sisters have success and find that path and navigate it, that is something that I'm committed to. And just personally, I've been so focused on. It's great to be in a position to give back and truly help. And I saw that when I joined EY a year ago. And what impressed me about EY is that back in 2020, EY launched Women in Tech across EY. But it wasn't just within EY that the brand had been associated and done some great things in the market. Since 2020, with the launch of Women in Tech, I'm super proud that EY has launched an app called the EY STEM app, which you can go download, on any of your devices. But this has now been distributed to across over 85,000 girls in 18 different countries across the globe, in which we're providing education and training in the areas of STEM to ensure that girls, as they continue to grow and mature, have a place in our technology industry. and more importantly, will thrive, because education is so critical to future success. Our Women in Tech channel that we have 40 different communities across EY as part of this, and we stretch across 150 different countries. It is so incredibly powerful. And being able to participate in several of our Women in Tech forums that we've had internally, just to see the participation, the topics that are explored, is really cool. And now we have a major focus on taking what we're doing with artificial intelligence and rolling that out across the globe, well beyond just EY. Now, the exciting bit to this is that we have an opportunity to expand what we've been doing in Women in Tech, which is equally impressive. And that's when Chai, EY, and I were able to link up and talk what a partnership would look like. And that's what we announced 5 days ago. And it's been so exciting to get this launched, because we have a focus with Women in Cloud, and it's focused on AI, cybersecurity, and of course, cloud. But these three areas are where we see the future in the next 5 years, where we see job creation, where we see job opportunity, where we see client opportunity. And this is really going well beyond technology. And Chai made a comment at the beginning that we're starting to see technology becoming smarter than humans or what have you. But I'll tell you this, at EY, we have a phrase called humans at the center. And we are very serious about it. In almost all of our proposals to our clients, we include our humans at center philosophy and what that means for success and transformations for AI, cybersecurity, and cloud work. So I'm so excited about this collaboration that we have with Chai and Women in Cloud, because what it really means is that we're supercharging the opportunity that we can bring for women in this industry across the services that EY offers. And the pipeline that Women in Cloud have in terms of that network for us to reach into and find great candidates to bring into our business is honestly just super exciting. So I've had firsthand knowledge and experience working with the team at Women in Cloud and doing this at Accenture, but be able to bring this into EY, it's really exciting. So, the announcement is the announcement from 5 days ago. We're just getting started. So stay tuned with what's happening at EY. Check us out. And Chai, I really appreciate the collaboration, the partnership, and most importantly, the personal touch that you put on to really create this opportunity for women across the $7 trillion opportunistic space. You have risked everything, and you've done it with such passion and such purpose, and I really appreciate that. That's why it's so great to partner with you.
Thank you, Pat. I remember 6 years ago when I sat down, they said you have to commit 10 years to this one. At that time, I really didn't know what I was committing, but I can say is I've become more wiser and more empathetic than ever before. So I think it has served me well too in serving others, and seeing everyone grow into their ultimate potential has been the best ride forever. So I think it's amazing work together. And I think having this wonderful relationship with EY, we are just going to take it 10x or 100x notch and probably achieve the $1 billion impact in next couple of years. And then we have to go find what's next. So very exciting. Thank you, Pat, for being with us. We really appreciate you today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. So what was your takeaway as you heard? Share it in the chat. Tell Pat, what did you learn through this partnership, and what would you like to see what this partnership should do for women? Put it in the chat so he can take away some notes and share it with his team at EY. Now, coming to the next session, it's our keynote. It's with Barbara Clarke, I would say my idol, my mentor. I'm so proud to have her here. And really, she's going to be talking about build your board and build your business as a topic. But let me give you a little bit about Barbara. She's the founder and chairman at the Impact Seed Foundation, and she really fuels the change in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and stimulates the growth in the early stage. But a little bit about her: she has invested over 60 companies, women startups, and they all have done well. And if you go to her and say, I have an idea, she will find the resource and find the funding if you are driving some transformative change. So she's the person you need to have in your Rolodex. And Barbara, very excited to have you. What made you say yes to speaking as a keynote speaker today here?
I think I've learned if you ask me to do something, I pretty much have to say yes. So,
I
so
love it.
that's your superpower, right?
Thank you. Thank you. So with that, Barbara, I'm going to leave it to everyone to hear how they should be thinking about building the board. And with your book, I remember structuring the board advisory for women in cloud, and it has served really well for all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for this invitation. And I also want to say thank you, Pat Sullivan, for what I felt was a refreshing comment to talk about the influence of your sisters, because so often allies, male allies, when they talk about making a better world for their daughters, and that always puts things too far off in the future for me. So I really appreciated you talking about, your sisters whom you love, and they've shared their experiences with you. I think that's really important. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about I should have asked Chai. I want to check on our time to make sure I have enough time. But you'll give me the hook, right? When it's too much time. But I'm going to talk a little bit about like why I wrote the book, and then some elements that you can take away from it. So, as Chai mentioned, I've invested directly in 60 companies, all of whom were led by women at the time that I invested, and in a wide range of industries, everything from food to medical devices to software. And then I've invested in about 20 or more venture funds. So again, that has a multiplier effect, because through those funds, I get to see lots of companies. And of course, to pick 60 companies, there were some years I did do the math, and I looked at probably about 1,000 companies. Anyway, so as time goes by, and I have my portfolio, which of course, Chai wish they would all had done well, but that is not true. So we have to have like a fact check there. Not every company is super successful, but I have learned from every company. But one of the things I started to see was that there was a differentiator for some companies, and it was their board of directors. So, I started to like poke into that question, like, what does it mean? Like, what are the, I think there's a lot of myths around it, and sort of, I wanted to demystify what is it to have a board? Why do you need a board? And what can it do? Because I think a lot of people, they didn't realize it could be your special sauce. So I think having a really good board of directors is your secret sauce to success. And I love an alliteration, so that's why I like to say the secret sauce. So let me talk about like the 3 most common questions I get asked. What's the difference between a board of directors and an advisory board? I like to think about it visually. An advisory board is more like a hub and spoke system, and it's very informal. I mean, you can have a formal agreement. You say to somebody, I want you to be my advisor for 3 months, and you're going to advise me on a particular topic. But it's very hub and spoke. You're one-on-one with them. You get some advice, and you have another advisor, and so you're managing usually a bunch of different kinds of input, and it's fine. It gets you pretty far, and it's particularly in your early stages of growing your company, when maybe you're still working on your product market fit and trying to think about things. An advisory board is really helpful. A board of directors is like when things get real, where you are leveraging the power of the group. And again, for an advisory board, you might be thinking like, oh, that person's a good go-to-market expert, or that one's a subject matter expert in something, or that particular person's an advisor, an investor, and they're going to help me with my pitch deck or things like that. But when you get a board of directors, you are working with them as an entity. And so they are, you're presenting and talking to them as a group in the most part, and you're getting the wisdom of the group. So it's really, and it's also, so it's important to understand that they're a cohesive body. And there's a couple of other things to understand, that they are not your board of directors, they're your company's board of directors. So, they are looking at the best interest of the company. And so that's why it's a lot different than an advisory board. An advisory board can be just for you. So that's one question I get. The other big question a lot of people have is like, I don't want a board of directors. I'm going to lose control over my company. Because we all hear stories about such and such a CEO was kicked out. Maybe they were a founder or whatever they were. The nasty board of directors kicked them out. Well, I mean, I've been sort of on both sides of those sort of situations, but the issue is always going to be, if you say you don't take any money for your company, you're completely bootstrapped. You can't be voted out of your own company because you are the majority shareholder. Once you start taking investors' money, you no longer own your company. And once you get below 50%, sure, but that's going to be true no matter what, whether you have a board of directors or not. But once you have below controlling share. So I think it's really important to just understand that differentiator. Like, I think a board of directors is great. And especially if you own 100% of your company, then you don't really have to worry about losing your control. And then if you take other, outside money, that's why you have to be really smart about whose outside money you take, because those things can happen where they can change the CEO. And then, the other question I get asked a lot is like, when do I create a board of directors? And, I don't have a good answer for that because it really varies on where you are. For example, if you're a medical device company that is many years away from, your FDA approval and getting product on the market, well, you're going to have a board of directors, pretty early, people who are experts in this area. But if you're a company that has line of sight to revenue, you're going to want to have a board of directors when you're probably at like $500,000 or $1 million in revenue. Because the key thing is, the little mantra I always say is, if you're working in your business, you're not working on your business. So the biggest issue would be, do you have the capacity to actually manage a board of directors? And that's usually the differentiator. You have to really think about, like, do I have enough? Is my revenue enough so that I can actually start to hire a bigger staff so that folks are actually doing things? Or am I doing everything? If you're doing everything, you're not going to be using your board of directors effectively because you'll be too much in your business, not working on your business. So I wrote my beautiful book because of this. See? And I'm going to go through, one of the great things about the book was, I knew I wanted to write a book about board of directors and demystifying things. And so I talked to all of, a lot of companies that I've invested in and the successes, the failures, and so forth. And then I had a great editor who's like really helped me like put this into some sort of sense. And she came up with this great mnemonic called anchor, which I'll go through what each word means. Each letter means. And I tried to find, because I'm trying to be like shy and like be fun and do emojis or whatever. So I looked through the GIFs to see like what kind of anchors there were. But so please feel free to throw some anchors. But there were a lot of Anchorman GIFs in the thing. And then there was a lot of Popeye, but whatever. So anchor. So the first one is A, and that's assessment. And I think that that's really important for folks just to know, like, who are you? Thank you. Who are you? Where are you going? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? I think women often focus a lot on weaknesses and really assess things like everything from like your personality. So for example, like, are you introverted? So you just have to be careful when you're trying to recruit folks who might be extroverted, but just to understand that about you, like, are you never going to be the kind of person who gets up on a stage and, gives a talk or something like that? So assess yourself. Where are you? And really, when you're grounded in that, then you can really understand, like, if you're going to fill a table and put, a group of people around you, that you know yourself first. And in the book, I have some questions just to ask yourself. So for example, a good question also is like, if you're doing a product that is hyper local, do you have deep roots in that community? Or are you more of a nomadic person who's lived in a bunch of different cities? So you want to maybe balance your your board with people who are from different regions or people who have depth in a certain region that's important to you. So those kinds of things, like, you can assess. The next one is network, which I know a lot of people get a little anxious about network. But, if I could say one encouraging thing is, I, as an investor who's out there, who's fairly, I'm pretty easy to reach. You'd be surprised how few good cold emails I get. Sometimes so if you're thinking, oh, I don't want to bother this person, you're reaching out, and we know that the best people sometimes to network with are people who are like a couple of degrees away from you, as opposed to your inner circle. You're already getting advice from those folks. So when you're trying to reach out, you think about the personas, some of the people that you might want. So for example, we've talked a lot, I know there's a lot of stuff in the chat about go-to-market strategies. So look for that. Look in LinkedIn. Look for those kinds of people. See who are like 2 connection points away. Try to get those intros. Make a list of those people again, and write them a really nice email. I get so much spam. I can tell that they didn't read my bio. So that would be networking. And just think about how to do it. I tell a story in the book about, someone who she had on her list, this person that, he was in a similar industry, and she was just like, reached out to him a couple of times. And then finally she's like, oh, I'm going to be in your city on such and such a date. Can we meet? And she did. And that person, they had a great working relationship for like a year. He joined her board. It was all good. So that's the N. And then C is communicate. One of my more successful CEOs is very good at communications. I think a lot of folks, when they think about communicating with investors or a board or just their supporters, they just wait. It's like momentous, like, oh, I'm sending out this quarterly update or whatever, which is okay, but it's usually a pretty passive activity. One of the best CEOs I work with, she has regular calls with all the board members, and it can vary from once a week. She and I talk every Friday at 9 a.m., which is 6 a.m. her time on the West Coast. But we talk every Friday. She talks to other people like every other week. And the thing is, when you have created that communication, that cadence, it's a little bit like driving on the highway where you see that billboard coming from miles and miles away. You see the issues coming. It gets closer, it's closer, it's closer. Okay, now something's happening. And then, it's in the rearview mirror. There's very few surprises, although we all know there's always some sort of surprise. But you want to have avoidable surprises. You don't want to have that kind of thing, especially with your board. And especially if things are not going well. I don't want to wait till some quarterly update to hear that, you're not going to hit your sales target. I want to hear 2 months ago. So communications. And the other thing too is, and if it frightens you to think if I have a board of 7 people, if I talk to them once a week, that's 7 hours, whatever. This goes to the whole point about are you working on your business or are you working in your business? Because is there somebody else who can handle those things so that you can actually be connecting with your board members who should be helping you move your company forward in a significant way. So that was the C. Now the H, of course, this is where my editor, I think she was really stretching to get the H to work, but whatever. And so it's honor your legal duty. And that's just, when you have a board, there are you have to take votes. You might want to have agreements. You have non-disclosures. You have what's the thing I want to say? Conflicts of interest. You want to make sure you have all of that. And as the CEO, you want to make sure you understand what the shareholder rights are. Because as I mentioned that, if you are a majority shareholder, you still want to understand what does the board get to choose and what do you get to choose as a shareholder. So the legal duty is really important, and understanding that your counsel for your company is not your personal counsel. And that can get really tricky, especially if you're negotiating sales packages and things like that for yourself. You need your own legal counsel. And then the counsel you have for the company, it's the company's counsel. So I think that's really important. The O is organized, which I cannot stress this enough. You have to, you can't send updates to a board 24 hours before the meeting, because for a couple of reasons, aside from the fact that it's rude. The other thing is there's tons of management science around decision making and how people respond to information. And just think about this in all aspects. When you present somebody with information, because of the way we're sort of programmed and socialized, we're always going to be thinking of the negative, like, how do I protect myself from harm? So if you're a board member and if you're a CEO and you've submitted some information for a board and we need to make a decision, you need to submit it well in advance so that I've had time to review it, to think about it, to digest. Maybe I'll have a question for you, because if you present stuff cold or I haven't had enough time to look at it, all you're going to get is us telling you how this is terrible and scary and everything's a disaster. And I see that dynamic all the time. And it's actually interesting because I have a board where there is a particular board member who never does his advance work. We're working on that. That person is not an effective board member. But all his questions are exactly that. They're all protective. They're all like negative. And we've all read the materials several days before and we're all prepared. So you really see that dynamic. And that's really bad for everybody. And again, I do have a company that's super, and they were telling me they were spending hours and hours and hours and hours of the team's time preparing this board deck. And there was so much stuff. And I was just like, I think you're not goes back to communicating. You're not communicating enough if you think that the board deck is what's going to, this is all the information that people need, because nothing in the board deck should be a surprise to me. Everything should be something I've already heard from you, week, 2 weeks, whatever. I should be expecting it, and we can discuss it, and maybe it's more detail and I have some more information so I can help make a board decision. But yeah, don't be spending all this time creating some deck thinking because what happens is you give me a 30-page deck, yowza, I may not even read it. And a lot of people, especially if you give it to me 2 days in advance, I'm definitely not going to read it. I won't have time. And then the last letter is R, which is sort of refresh and return, which is, after you've created your board, and I think there was a question in the chat about what's an optimal number. I think you want to start with 5, and maybe, a 7 is good. 9 can start to get a little unwieldy, but you can always have observers. So you have your board members, and then you can invite people to observe and just make sure that at a certain point in the meeting, you thank the observers and they leave so that the board can do their work. But you might decide okay, it's been a couple of years. Who are the kind of people that I have on my board? Is this right? You should also be thinking about getting on a board yourself. That's a great way to sort of learn how to be a good board member. And then, 2 other things I would just say that I've learned. One of which is, I think it's really important that you strongly consider not being your own chair. Because to be the chair of a board of a fast-growing company while you're the CEO of a fast-growing company is just too much work. And what are you going to be focusing on? Growing your company. Get a board chair who is very experienced in boards. And I also believe folks who have nonprofit experiences in boards, they're usually the more organized people too. But I highly recommend that. Don't try to do both because you don't have enough bandwidth to do that. And then the other note I would say is, as someone who's invested in women, and the majority of some of my funding has gone to women of color, I think that you need a diverse board, and you especially need someone on your board that reflects you. So if you are a woman of color, you need to have a successful woman of color on your board, because you need that at the table so that, I deal all the time with boards and folks, I can see the racism and the sexism that's happening to them. And you need to have a board that is understanding and supportive of that. If you have a monoculture board because you think that that's what you need to do to get ahead, it won't be as supportive to you as what you need. So I think that was a bit of fire hosing of some information for my book. But I'm delighted. I'm going to stay. I'm happy to answer questions. I like that little GIF. Facts. Yeah. So anyways, thanks, Chai.
Barbara, this was so amazing. I personally took away so many things, is kind of how to even think about the compensation, think about the legal piece, right? Most of the time we set the board, but if we don't have the right legal structure, that is what causes a lot of the contention, conflict, and suddenly people you respect turns into opposing party, and that's not fun. So This one was very, very valuable. How do people find your book and where can they buy?
So this is also a sad and funny situation, but my book is available on Amazon. And the editing group that did my book went out of business. And so we're trying to figure out how to get our book back so I can give away more free copies, which I would have done, but I don't have the ability to give it away for free. But I'm working on it. I do also have it. It's also an audiobook as well. So yes, it's available all these places.
That's cool.
Wherever books are sold online.
Well, people will find it. If they have a desire to build an amazing board, they'll find it. Next question, Barbara. Is it possible to have you come back and do a deep roundtable, or where the founders can ask you all the scenario question, and also do as a more like a workshop style where we can actually set a board design for it? Is that something you would be open? Okay, perfect. Is that something you will all attend if we set it up with Barbara? Because I have personal access to Barbara, then I have not a problem. But for you, if it's yes, put it in the chat. I need at least 10 to set up the workshop with her so you can actually get the insight. Because as a business owner, knowing how to build a board, how to structure the board, and how to lead the board is all very important. And you do need the anchor method to drive that transformation. Again, Barbara, thank you so much, and stay in the programming. People probably will want to meet with you after the session.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll hang out.
Perfect. Okay, so the next session, this is going to be a power panel, and it's going to be fun. But before we let Barbara go, or she has left, what were your top takeaway from Barbara's conversation? Because anytime you share your takeaway, it allows you to formalize and also tell you what you should be thinking and doing. Go ahead, put it in the chat for me. What was your takeaway? My takeaway was,
What's your takeaway? Tell me your takeaway.
My takeaway was, I think I was doing intuitively, but I think you made it real, is make sure you have your representation on the board who looks like you, thinks like you, can represent you. So when something goes wrong, they are there in the room to support you. So that one was I have never heard about that, but I was doing intuitively, but now I will do intentionally. So intuitive to intentional. So that's great. So here are some cool things that people are saying. Well done, Barbara. I took a lot of notes. I love working in your business, not on your business. It was very informative, especially creating a board of women of color. The board is not for the company, not you. And leverage the management science to creative, stronger impact, board performance and productivity. Be a mindful planner, bring inclusivity with you, the difference between the board of directors and board of advisors, importance of founder working on their business and always on their business, and also with someone that reflects you if you're a people of color. If you're a woman of color founder, then have a woman of color on your board. It helps immensely. Again, I think, Barbara, we landed the message and they're ready to spend more time with you. Again, thank you for being here today. We are really
Thanks
grateful.
so much for the invite. Yeah.
Okay.
I love what you guys are doing. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, coming to the next one. This one is the most coolest panel that we have curated. This one is about unlocking AI or Copilot service opportunities via the marketplace in next 6 months. This is led by Karen Fazio. She's a founder of a go-to-market company. She drives a lot of strategies with hyperscalers. She's also a co-founder of Women in Cloud. She was the one we sat together and really drove a $1 billion strategy. So very excited to have this amazing panel with Pat, with Juhi, Dexter, and Regina. Welcome, Karen. Are you excited?
Oh yeah. I mean the energy, like come on. And look at this fabulous panel that we've got here. This is great.
Absolutely. So I'm going to hand over the baton and you can lead the conversation today with everyone.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Chaitra. We'll give you a break for a minute. And welcome everyone. So glad to see you all here. I can already feel the energy. Maybe what we could do is just a quick introduction around the room so that everyone can get to know all of you. I mean, Pat, we were introduced to you earlier, but we would love to hear from you again and any new sort of notes you want to add on there about Marketplace and what you're seeing. So I'll start first. So my name's Karen Fazio. I am a former sort of Microsoft director in the go-to-market space, but now I'm a principal of my own consulting firm, Abundant Marketing Collective, and focus on go-to-markets, which Marketplace. Wow, what an engine of go to market. And so I'm really excited for the discussion that we're going to have here today with all of you. Why don't we go ahead and pass it over to Regina, and then I'll kind of tag everybody else to go around the room here. So, Regina.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And Karen, it's always great to see you. Again, my name is Regina Johnson. I am a senior strategist at Microsoft. So I work in Global Partner Solutions. We own the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program. I specifically work within the GTM program and operations organization. So I'm always focusing on helping partners within the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program really drive innovation and business growth. I specifically collaborate with small and medium-sized businesses who are thinking about and leveraging AI and cloud technology solutions effectively. So I am excited to be here.
Excellent. And Pat, we'll go to you next.
Oh, sure. Hey, it's great to be here with you, Karen, Regina, Dexter, and Juhi. So work at EY. My day job is I run EY's digital engineering business globally, which includes all cool things in cloud software development, platform development, and of course, we're stretched across putting AI in everything. It's really an exciting time to be in this space. So great to be here. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. And Dexter.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dexter Hardy, President and CTO at Integral Inc. Simply put, we help you move to the cloud. And so always great to see Regina on board. We were part of an accelerator program through the BPGI group and definitely have focused on marketplace first. So that's one of the key things or key drivers that we can kind of lend some credence to, and how AI, that data plus AI story is something that every company is trying to build on and or leverage. And so, just to sum it up, our solutions help and empower, SIs, ISVs, digital natives to realize their time to market in the cloud much faster.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dexter. Long Women in Cloud ally and advocate as well. So thank you for being here. And Juhi.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Juhi Sahan, audio only because I'm sitting in my car in my kids' parking lot due to internet issues, so excuse that. It's wonderful to be here today. I'm CEO of Partner One, and we're an advisory and services company that helps B2B companies, maximize the value of cloud partnerships. And like Karen, I'm ex-Microsoft, and it's such a privilege to be here with Regina, Dexter, Pat, and you, Karen. You guys are all champions of other B2B SaaS and services companies, so thrilled to be here and learn more from you.
Excellent. Thank you, Juhi. And yeah, way to put this flexible work thing to good use.
Sure.
You're coming in strong despite the lack of video, so don't worry about it. All right, so let's jump into this discussion because we know that AI is all the conversation right now, and certainly how to maximize marketplaces as that key go-to-market engine. This session in particular is about helping people sort of get a fast start and how they can get going into this. The marquee of this session is about 6 months, which I love. I love creating things that sort of create a rocket of acceleration. So this is the kind of juice that this audience is looking for today. And so let's just get right into it, because we know that there's a dilemma, right? And that we face when we're coming up with something that's got a lot of hype, a lot of energy behind it, and sorting through all of that information just to get to clarity of focus. So most founders, people that are in this space in different technology roles and go-to-market roles, are looking for ways to create differentiation, to maximize their value prop, to create a monetization, and making sure that they've got the right business models in place, and that wherever we can, we're leveraging and building for scalability. And so the context of the questions we have today, we're really going to focus on those sort of key areas of opportunity and ways of thinking about this new landscape that we find ourselves in. So let's just jump right into what we're seeing out there in the landscape of things. And so Dexter, if I could pose this question to you, what are some key trends and things that you've been seeing around AI and Copilot services that you believe are going to be driving that demand in the marketplace? And then I'll send it over to you, Regina, if you wanted to tap into that question as well.
Okay, awesome. That's a great question, and I know a lot of people are trying to digest what does AI mean for you. But I think we kind of broken it out into like 6 different categories, right? So there's operationalizing, there's your intellectual property, there's securing it or security, there's your cloud application portfolio, your scale, because now you have this AI engine, accessing your current system, so that scale and compute needed to support that, and then your cloud data estate. So those are the 6 different components, and what we're seeing from trends are, it's like an iceberg, right? It's not, AI isn't just this one thing. It is, the top tier. Yes, it's really cute and you can do all this wonderful stuff. However, that data that you're grounding your model against, that you're prompting with that data, has to be, it has to be scalable. It has to be, able to withstand that compute. It needs to be secure. So you don't want to have a scenario where, you have HR data that now someone can scale and say, hey, what's Pat's salary and what's his compensation package, right? That shouldn't come out in your results. So definitely wanted to kind of lean into and make people aware of, the marketplace gives you that ability to do a digital scale and reach from a global perspective. And I would just share our personal story. We were an SI, transitioned to an ISV, developing our concierge cloud solution set that allows people to accelerate to the cloud. We went from being a regional company to having customers in over 150 countries within a 2-year period. So I think, when you look at what's available and the opportunity, definitely look at that bigger picture, see it as not just AI one thing, but if you can deliver AI, great. But what are the enablers to help companies take advantage of AI? And those are opportunities as well.
Yeah, and then suddenly you're a 24/7 company.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, Regina, and then Pat, if you wanted to add to that conversation too.
Dexter, I always love hearing you share your story. And there was something that you said when you were speaking. You talked about scale and compute. And I liked the analogy you talked about with it's like an iceberg. So we've all heard everyone talk about AI. You all know that Microsoft is really talking about Copilot, AI, cybersecurity, trying to get especially small, medium-sized businesses to think more about this. But you mentioned the word hype, Karen. And so one of the things we also want to make sure we're understanding is the why. Why should we really be focusing on this? I'm just going to quickly talk about just some 8 key trends that's really driving this demand, and why I think it is definitely not a hype. It's going to continue, and we don't want people to be left behind. Some of the several key trends that I think people should be thinking about to use AI, to use Copilot services in the marketplace, and why you should be tagging it into your business. These are some key trends that people are doing to use AI. One, personalized customer experiences. You talked about, Karen, now you have a company that's 24 hours, right? And so AI is increasingly using different ways so that you can tailor your interactions based on individual customer preferences and behaviors. And so you want to be able to know your customer, you want to enhance the overall customer experience. And so I know there is a lot of use for AI for that. Another one is remote work and productivity. The remote world and the future of work has changed dramatically and probably forever. The rise of remote work has really accelerated the adoption of AI tools. And this is why I definitely think this is not going anywhere, just because where we are as a society in terms of how we enhance collaboratively and productivity. So AI copilots like Microsoft Copilot has integrated into Office software, and this can be used to help automate routine tasks. Dexter, you talked about data. So one thing, as you continue to hear everything about AI and Copilot, you definitely cannot forget about the cybersecurity. And I know there is going to be an increase in a need for cybersecurity professionals. So definitely keep that in mind for those who are looking to hire. But also AI, the trend is this can help with better data analytics and insights. And so gone are the days of us really doing things so manually. Businesses are leveraging AI for advanced data analytics, and that is going into another trend that we're seeing, which is AI-driven automation. How can we, especially if you're a small, medium-sized business owners, you don't have time for a lot of different things. And I know Pat even talked about in the board session, are you running your business or are you actually thinking about strategy? So AI is really helping with automation. And that means we need to really think through ethical AI and governance. If we're really going to be using AI for so much of our work, you'll definitely see some more trends about ethical AI. But in summary, I think that really using AI to integrate into your existing systems, again, this should not be replacing humans. It should be helping you be more productive. The AI services that we've seen will continue to design and be seamless for you to be more creative, and in summary, for you to help with customer demand. So I walked through some of those 8 key trends very quickly, but I think this is something that we have the opportunity to grab a hold, and especially for small, medium-sized businesses, to really go further than we've ever gone before.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for the landscape view on that. Pat, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I want to pick up on a point Regina just made, that AI is not here to replace humans. And there's a phrase I like to use is that your job's not going to be replaced by AI. Your job would be replaced by the person who knows how to work with AI. And I really think that we hit a massive, just overall paramount cliff, if you will, a year and a half ago when GPT became available for all of us. Because I used to give this presentation like 10 years ago. And I would ask people, raise your hand if you used AI today. And I could still do this today. You get a lot more hands up though, but still not everyone's raising their hand. And I go, well, for all of you who did not raise your hand, I got to let you know that I'm sorry, but AI has been using you all day long. So the power that we have that came out a year and a half ago with generative AI, which I like to call generational AI, because it's really once in a generation we see things like this happen in a tech space, is that now it's in our hands. We can use it. It's not this stuff that's behind a secret, DMZ or code behind something that you have to be super technical to interact with. But this is a game changer. And so what I really like and what I would advise small, medium businesses going into or trying to figure out what to do with AI is, number one, understand what it means for your business that you offer. And think of the concept of having AI agents. How would these agents do work for you? How would they augment your workforce to make it better, or the services that you provide? And I do like a lot what Microsoft is doing with Copilot. We use Copilot, but by the way, there's like 100 Copilots out there now. right? So this concept of having multiple AI agents, multiple co-pilots, if you will, to go and really aid in how business is done or how your services are offered. It's an extension of your workforce. And we always say AI, AI, AI. And when you say the actual word artificial intelligence, it's that last one, the intelligence. We're adding intelligence that, we could get to. Don't get me wrong, but it takes us a lot longer to get there previously than where we can embrace AI to help us do our job. And, like what Barbara was talking about with the boards, imagine putting AI in a boardroom and you're able to interact with AI to get clarity on your financials. And now mock me a scenario of what happens with my sales with a month of bad weather. AI has the ability to do that, and you can really have meaningful discussions to really embrace the power of this technology. So, those would just be some of my thoughts and comments based on what I'm seeing in the market today.
Wonderful. And I mean, inspiring as well, because we do recognize that there's, many different versions of these capabilities. And now it's how do these things get stitched together? And that the insight that's coming from them, the fidelity of that insight remains properly managed as well. So, and, we're speaking into a large ecosystem here of technology companies, technology professionals, and professionals that are developing their craft. And so you can hope what you're hearing from this is just nothing but opportunity, because this is completely new space, new ocean of scenarios for us to be playing in now. So let's talk about another big part of the thinking about taking AI on in your business and how to create differentiation. So, what are some of the strategies that we believe our ecosystem could be taking to create more compelling value prop for AI services and solutions, especially in FY25, this next fiscal year, since there has been a lot more focus on that from Microsoft's perspective, and certainly the ecosystem is sort of poised to be able to sort of jump on more opportunity now. Juhi, are you there? Maybe we could have you start with answering that one.
Yes, and that's such a great question, Karen, because Microsoft just announced its incentives and priorities. And if anyone was listening to the MCAP sessions, it was AI, 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 security, migrations. And so this fiscal year, Microsoft has doubled and tripled down on its investments in AI. And companies that are incorporating AI and co-pilots, they're going to be at a huge advantage from a lot of aspects. There are a lot of incentives and benefits available, and it makes a lot of sell these solutions through cloud marketplaces and tap into over $150 million worth of incentives. So Karen, would it be helpful if I just tapped into a couple of strategies that people could deploy here?
Yeah, please do. I think people are sort of excited to hear how to sort of make those high notes that came in from sessions like MCAPs into something they can bring down into their business.
Yeah, some of my key takeaways were, well, if I'm a tech exec, number one, take a look at your solution suite and your product roadmap, and then think about how you can infuse them with AI. Something I was thinking about was, how do you create co-pilots into M365 and then sell them through the marketplace? I know we have Elena here, and her team does some incredible works with companies around co-pilots and teams integrations, and incentives there are huge. If you're a service provider, how can you create workshops and pilots around AI and sell them through the marketplace? Because that's a new incentive that came along. If you are a service provider and you have solutions designations, you can now co-sell with Microsoft sellers. And you know that customers need these services solutions, and the marketplace is the quickest way to find you. So think about how you can create AI and security-based solutions and sell them through the marketplace. And then the other couple of things I'd recommend looking at are, Microsoft focuses on a ton of industries. So if you have an industry flavor, think about your customers' needs according to those industries and create solutions for these different sectors like healthcare or financial services. One
Juhi, are you still there? Oh no, I think we may have lost her.
done,
Oh,
such as
hey Juhi, are you back? We'll go ahead and move on.
a drop. Can you hear me?
We'll try one more time. Just if you could finish what you were last saying.
Yeah, I was saying look at the incentives and benefits, look at the industry lens, and then make sure you're available in marketplaces so customers can find you.
Thank you. Yes, if there isn't anything we can't emphasize enough is sort of leveraging the power of that engine that hyperscalers like Microsoft are certainly continuing to put big investment in. Um, is there anything you'd like to add to that, Regina? Anyone else on the panel?
Yeah, I can add to it. And Juhi, you were dropping some gems. I know you have talked to other partners previously, and I want to hone in on a little bit of what you said in the beginning. I'm going to talk more about value propositions because Karen, your question talked about what's some strategies that partners can use to create compelling value propositions for the AI Copilot services. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the investments that Julie was leading into that were recently announced here at Microsoft. One thing I want to start off with, one solution, I've talked to dozens of partners, maybe even hundreds. One solution I have seen partners really consider either buying from cloud marketplaces or developing is an AI-driven customer service platform. These platforms, I think, can enhance customer interaction by providing timely or accurate and personalized responses. And I think with SMBs, this can be a game changer for improving customer satisfaction and loyalty, which in turn drives growth because it helps with scale and efficiency. And I wanted to start with that because I've seen a lot of partners start to think through how that can be an attractive option for their own business to optimize their customer service operations. But if you already have another AI or Copilot service or you're thinking about it, here are some other value propositions that I think you should be thinking about to share about your company strategies. One, you need to highlight unique benefits. You talked, Pat, about there are hundreds of co-pilots. There is a lot of movement in the market. You will probably see every other week there is a new AI company that's being stood up, right? So, or a company that is saying that they're using AI. So how can you stand out in this market? You need to highlight what's unique about the features and benefits you are driving using AI. One of the things you even talked about, Pat, is AI is not going to replace humans, but a person who understands AI using AI will. And so you as a business owner really sharing how you are using AI differently and what energy you're bringing for your customers, I think will be a game changer, and no one else can tell your story better than you. No matter how many other AI companies are out there, the way that you think through using AI or Microsoft Copilot to automate tasks, to really focus on higher value activities, is your personalization. And so really think through how you are unique. And then it's going to be very critical to share clear and targeted messaging. Really think through, what do I want my customers to know about? How am I specifically addressing specific customer pain points using AI? What type of messaging should I be putting forth to target the audience that I work with? Again, no one is working in the community or where you are located right now like you specifically. There may be other businesses, but you started your business for a reason. So how can your AI solution, or how can any of the ways you are navigating AI really solve your customers' problems? I think that's something that you need to think through in terms of your own messaging, or even if you're not going to develop something for AI with a customer, how can you use AI to reduce your own operational cost?
Yep.
Another last thing I will share, just really think through showcasing success stories, using case studies, even if you're just beginning, thinking through testimonials, because there is a way to have ease of use and to integrate, and really think through pricing models that are flexible. I know, Dexter, you talked about at a high level how you have went from a smaller company to now all over the regions. And lastly, there's been a lot of investments. You mentioned 150 million that were announced in MCAP starts, but really there's huge investments in security. Microsoft investing an additional 90 million to accelerate cybersecurity growth. There's huge investment in Azure, significant investments in Azure is really moving forward in terms of how you're using Azure with AI solutions. And there's huge investments in Copilots in each of our Microsoft 365 applications. And so if you are not plugged in, now is the time to plug in.
So we have just a few more minutes left. This is clearly a conversation that can go on and on. What I'd like to maybe get into just really quickly is the like how to help us think about scalability and opportunities for integration. So if I could, I don't know if Pat, if you wanted to offer some perspective there, and then Dexter, and then we'll wrap up our session today.
Yeah, I think scalability with AI is going to be the $1 million question and answer over the next few years, because as I said, there's a lot of hype with AI. Regina, also talked about the number of companies that are being established every single day around AI. And there's a really cool daily newsletter, Monday through Friday, that I subscribe to. It's TLDR, which is like code for too long didn't read, right? But so they summarize all the movement going on in the AI market. Really cool if you want to, just have a snapshot every morning for 5 minutes and you learn. But, one thing that we've learned here in terms of helping clients scale at EY is we've got this concept of, and Dexter brought this up, of making your data AI ready. If your data is not ready for AI, the AI you're going to get from your data is not good, right? So, there is that. Copilot is awesome, but if Copilot on bad data, well, don't expect magic to happen. This is not an abracadabra moment. There's work that has to take place to make your AI work, and then you can go scale. So focus on your data, understand, what you have, and clean it up, to be quite honest on that. But, the other aspect of scaling this is my advice is, AI is a term we use all over the place, but create an identity for your AI. I can tell you at EY, our AI that we bring to our clients, our AI at EY is held to the exact same standard as I am as an employee. Our training around ethics and behavior, data security, things of that nature, our AI is it's got to pass the EY test for us to go use it with clients. And so, but that's an identity that we bring with our AI to the market, is that it's going to be quality, it's going to work, and we're putting our brand behind it. So I think it's important to create that identity for the AI that you bring to the market, personalize it, and tell clients why what you offer is differentiated, because I do believe that will allow much better results from a scale perspective in business. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Excellent point. Data, so important to have that properly managed. And Dexter, how about you?
Okay, just to kind of recap on a couple of things that both Pat and Regina said, and going back to what Juhi said is, and we actually got this kind of ingrained in our being by being part of a couple of accelerators through Microsoft, is focus on your superpower. Mm-hmm. So AI is out there, and yes, it can be done for a myriad of different things, but what are you really good at? What is the one thing that if you were to stand yourself up against anyone in the world, what do you do really well? And if you focus on that, focus on adding value around that, then you can look at it through the lens of how do these services help make other people's lives easier, faster, or better? And if you're doing those things, the other part of it will come, because who doesn't want to be able to, you start typing something and now it auto-completes. That's AI. You want to write a quick article about a specific topic. You can tell it you want to be funny, you want to do this. It enhances that life experience. And then, last but not least, if you have done those top 3 things, focus on creating a center of excellence around it, right? So you're really good at it. you can show and start creating use cases around how to do that at scale.
So good. That is so good.
Great point.
Thank you. Thank you all. Chaitra's here to tell us to move on. But a very enriching conversation, great energy, great insights. Follow all these people on LinkedIn and and let's continue to, take all of this insight and learn from each other and make some great things happen in the market. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, Karen, Regina, Pat,
Thank you.
Juhi, Dexter, fantastic. Can we give a big round of applause by sharing that perfect emoji on the chat? They need to get the love and the energy that how this means. Let me talk about what they talked about. Pretty cool. They talked about $150 million of investment that's available. Focus on the industry lens. They talked about building an identity within AI. They talked about center of excellence. They also talked about where to get your information to keep yourself up to date and make your data ready for AI. My God, this one was pretty power-packed panel. So thank you to all of you. I think I'm going to have you back again to have more deeper discussion, because these kind of conversation is very important when we are actually thinking about building an AI which reflects the identity of the company, the promise of the company. And Pat, I've never heard about that. So thank you for making it very concrete. And I was like, that one was the best idea that came out of this one. Is like, I never thought about is the persona of your AI should reflect the value system of your company. And if you're building as an individual, then it's your individual value system. So thank you so much for doing that. This one was very cool. So for all of you, what was your takeaway in the chat? And for all the speakers, you can actually switch off your camera and mic. And thank you all for being here. And going on to the next one. Who is ready to have me for an hour? Because I'll be on the screen and navigating, because there are 2 sessions, because this one is focused on really driving your marketable offers. We talked about the investment, and then we said is how do we really get tapped into that industry? And well, we have an AI solution, but how do you drive revenue? With me, I have some amazing experts in the market who will talk about demystifying certain things, especially the dilemma that founders have. One is, how can tech executives and founders balance the pursuit of innovative AI challenges with the immediate market demand and customer readiness? That's important. Resource allocation and go-to-market investment. How do I figure that out? Co-launching with strategic partners like EY, Microsoft. How do I even go about it? This is like a complex concept. And the last one is the internal and external readiness. So there are a lot of dilemmas here. With me, I have Faith Schwartz from Global Innovation and Emerging Tech Ecosystem Director at EY. Welcome, Faith. Very excited to have you. I have Kushagra Sharma. He's the CMO and SARC at Weem. I have worked with him. I can tell you, one of the most amazing CMO I've ever met on this planet. So you have to hear him out. And then Jen Lee, she leads the data and AI value strategy. She's the senior manager at Accenture. So we are really excited to have all of you. So the way I would like to start, Carolina, if you can take down the slides and have the speakers on the stage. This is going to be a power pack. First, introduce yourself. What do you do? What does Google not know about you? And what was the first experience with AI, and how did it shape your perspective on the potential of revenue generation? So I will start with you, Faith.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Faith Schwartz. I'm a director in our innovation and global emerging tech ecosystem team. So my team is responsible for building new relationships with innovative technology companies that we can then either co-develop solutions with, bring to the market to our clients, or embed into our EY technology, our EY fabric. And so when I think about my first experience with AI, and I think Pat really kind of nailed it, because my background isn't technical. And so I'm sure I was experiencing AI much sooner than the 2 times that I can remember. But the first was when I got my iPhone back in 2011, and there was Siri on the phone. And I can remember my nieces and nephew taking my phone and playing with it and asking it silly questions. So probably wasn't thinking about revenue generation then, but fast forward 10 years or so, when ChatGPT came out in the end of 2022, we were planning on going on a family vacation in January, and we hadn't planned anything. And so I leveraged ChatGPT to basically give me recommendations and plan the trip within seconds. And I thought, wow, if generative AI and ChatGPT could do this from a personal perspective, think about what it could do for our clients if we were to build generative AI into the solutions and offerings that we take to our clients. We had already been building AI into it, but generative AI took it to a whole new level.
That's awesome, Faith. Thank you so much for being with us today. Kushagra, I know it's pretty late for you in India right now, but thank you for joining.
I'm sitting in Singapore right now, so it's a little more late in the night. So yeah, so pleasure to be here, Chaitra and Faith and so this is Kushagra Sharma. So I lead marketing for this number one data protection company called Veeam. This is catering to India and the SAARC countries predominantly. So my core focus is to build demand and build the perception and mind share about our Veeam solutions in our markets. My first experience with the AI, more from a marketing lens, if I may, right, is sort of integrating AI into our campaigns and building a very hyper personalized approach to our clients. Specifically around the content that we actually sort of create, right? So how do we sort of understand the customer insights, their preferences, their customer behavior, and so on, right? And how do you sort of integrate the content which actually sort of makes the whole marketing campaign more targeted? So these were the early avenues of us as marketers understanding and integrating AI into the mix. Apart from that, the customer journeys and the whole omni-channel approach and how AI can be integrated within the mix is something that we are constantly working on as marketers. So yeah, so these are my first experiences with AI as a marketer. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Kushagra, for joining us. Jen.
Yes, I'm very excited to be here. So I'm part of the leadership for the data and the AI strategy practice at Accenture. I lead several efforts around Gen AI specifically, from tying and building out the overall strategy to all the way to implementing solutions. So doing thought leadership, conference engagements like this, and also hands-on client delivery, in particular with financial services clients and other industries as well. I've been speaking on several emerging AI risks and opportunities forums, so really excited to participate today. And to think on my first experience with AI. This is not the first experience, but I do remember that around the time that ChatGPT came out was also when my sister was getting married, and we both confessed to trying ChatGPT to write her vow and my maid of honor speech. And we also followed that up with not being very successful, but I do remember us toying around with different role-playing techniques in the prompts, asking chain of prompt questions to see how well it could do. And from there on, using GPT day to day, not with only just personal experiences, but with clients as well, to start building out some actual cool solutions. So very fond memories of that. In the past less than 2 years, a lot of things have evolved. So happy to talk about more things.
I've all three of you did something amazing. You talked about your personal experience that actually drove you to really think about opportunities in the business, which is fascinating, right? From Siri to ChatGPT to some of the event or activity you wanted to do and you want to expedite it because you didn't have resources. You had to use a technology to do it. So pretty phenomenal. So I'm going to ask the audience also talk about your own first experience with AI and put it in the chat. And then that one will help you identify where the origin story of why you started engaging with AI, because that one will help you find the curiosity. So we see, I was sitting with a board and one of my board member, and they said, is Chaitra, with all the technologies that are coming, how are you actually going to market with your technology? I said, well, we'll talk about the product. And they said, no, the answer is the offer. What's the offer and the promise to the market? And the offer not only has the technology, but also the services and benefits that really drive the transformation. So with that in mind, I want to ask you is what are the trends are you seeing in the mid and enterprise space that are influence the success of AI focused offers? So Jen, I'll start with you first.
Sure, and I'm happy to talk a little bit more about what we see in the market in terms of customer behavior. And then I do want to double click into the trends and some of the considerations we do see. So it is the age of instant gratification. If 5 years ago was looking at all the Tableau dashboards that we were generating, going from consumption of report to consumption, now we have a giant engine like GenAI that can actually draft and curate that report for you at the hands with your questions. So customers now do expect real-time chatbots and AI-driven help desk and other things that will get their answers quicker and faster across any other organization. And I think you've heard from our Copilot partners today of some examples of how it really works closely with us to automate or augment some of the processes very quickly. So for organizations right now, like you mentioned, it's really, really important to connect these newly emerging technologies to what is actually the bottom line and the value case. Otherwise, GenAI it's a new tool, but it's another tool that can be a costly experiment. So to do this effectively, we do see organizations starting with the top of the house leadership buy-in and education. And for folks who are proposing solutions and strategies, we need to tie these into the larger strategy and the roadmap that they are building out. So it is very, very important to tell the stories and the capabilities within that larger narrative of what is surely a long-term evolution and adoption. And what's really important to get that success story going is to make sure that we're looking at the real value levers like revenue growth or cost reduction, risk mitigation, sustainability. At the end of the day, the stories that really make an impact are not the stories that say, hey, I used GenAI first, but it's the stories that say, I saw a 20% cost reduction or I saw a 15% revenue growth. So the best partners and organizations today are those that understand that long-term scaling is important and also bring their own vision and their plans to the customers. And this doesn't always mean like a dollar amount investment. It's really the understanding that things are changing really quickly. And 6 months from now, we might not really predict what that looks like in the larger industry. But we want to see stories and hear stories about how vendors and tools are going to be flexible and be able to fit into a client architecture that's also growing as well.
Fantastic, Jen. I completely agree. Is like those impact stories for driving the success of the adoption is so important. With coming to you, you have a product, you actually have created an offer. What's kind of the effective way of thinking about co-launching your AI solution with strategic partners so they can reach the maximum impact and reach? Have you seen any ideas or any strategies that has really driven a better co-creation and co-launching?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So yes, it's very important to leverage partners and the ecosystem to co-develop, co-launch solutions rather than doing everything yourselves. And this is something that EY, we do all the time. Startups and scale-ups play a really important part for us with their innovative technologies that we can then build upon, leveraging our EY expertise and then our client knowledge to come up with a new solution, and then leverage our strong distribution channels to accelerate it to the market and get it to a broad range of different clients. So I think there are a few different things that I'll highlight that could really set you up for success when you think about working with partners. So the first one, and someone mentioned this earlier about having the strategic buy-in from the top and from leadership is really important. But it's also dually important to have people on the ground that are developing it and that will be selling solutions really, really bought in, really think that there is a true opportunity in partnering and bringing that out to the market. The second is having a clear joint value proposition. And in the last panel, they talked a lot about this, but each partner brings their own capabilities, but it's really the sum of the parts. And what is that value prop that you bring to your clients? It has to resonate with them, and defining that upfront will enable you to have that customer facing story, but as well give you a plan to what you need to develop. The next is aligning on partnership goals, right? So what is the vision? What does each partner want to achieve with the relationship? What will each do? What do you bring to the table? I think having that upfront, and then tied into more detail around from a go-to-market perspective. What are the target markets? What are the types of clients you're going to go after? What type of relationships do you have at different clients? At EY, we call that a relationship map. Identifying the synergies, and coming up with that initial list of a client pipeline that you can go jointly pitch together. Equally as important is obviously setting some sales goals, right? What do you want to hit in the first quarter, the first year, and then who's going to be responsible for what. I think also monitoring the progress overall to see how you are achieving those goals is just as important. And then I think that the last piece is around resourcing. And we struggle with this sometimes, but you really need to have some dedicated resources on both sides, right, in order for it to be successful. You can't do this on the side of a desk. You can't launch this, if people are juggling multiple things. So I think having resources on both sides really can, in addition to the other things that I mentioned, can get you to a successful place in the market.
Awesome, Faith. Kush, Jen, anything you want to add to this conversation?
I think one thing I'll add, I think Faith hit on a lot of really, really great points. So in for Accenture, for instance, we partner with a lot of the ecosystem partners. I think we have over 1,000 engagements going on. But one thing that we do also see, as Faith mentioned, is a larger conversation around, it's not just the product, it's not just implementing this, but the conversation around how do you get the organizational readiness? How do you upskill the talent? How do you make sure that security conversations and governance forum engagements are also ready to adopt or even experiment with just these Gen AI solutions, and then are starting to think about how you mature those in the processes. So that's one thing I'll add. I think from a debunking some of the risks and scary myths we were hearing in the past few months, we're starting to transition into, we now all understand and see Gen AI in the day-to-day. Now let's start accelerating this pace. And that's really exciting to see.
Totally makes sense, Jen. I think that you basically teed up a very good conversation for Kush. Is now, as we go through the co-launch, we have the go-to-market, we have the resourcing. What are some of the best practices, Kush, that we can ensure the internal and external readiness are happening in place for launching AI-focused offers?
Yeah, I totally sort of resonate with what Faith and Jen sort of spoke about. So a lot of the points that they mentioned, especially the top-down approach becomes absolutely critical when you talk about the internal readiness, right? Unless your AI offer is aligned to the vision of the company or the strategic imperatives of the company, I think it's a no-go. So I think you need to have a solid top-down sort of buy-in to sort of to begin the proceedings, and then you actually entail your whole offer into a process framework, where you actually look at different departments within your organizations. It could be your cross-functional organizations. It could be your different BUs within the organization, which would all eventually come together. And within that ambit, you need to sort of look at educating the key stakeholders within these different organizations and different business units. Because if all of us are not speaking the same language, then your offer is a no-go in the market, right? So education and enablement becomes absolutely paramount in the way you sort of define the whole offer within the organization. And of course, the whole idea of understanding the policies and the regulations and the AI ethics aspects, also become very crucial internally, right? Because if you're not really, complying with the regulations and policies, then you essentially will be going in a very wrong direction. So the process framework would really, capture all these different facets. Beyond that, from the external modalities aspects, what I would actually like to bring out is, how you assess the market, your target market, your insights that you sort of derive from the market. What is the addressable market looking like when you launch the offer? What are the analysts talking about the market eventually, right? So And what is the competition, if at all the competition has a similar offer? Are there any gaps that we could actually sort of look at to plug in terms of our offering in the market? Is something that you could essentially look more from an external lens. How do you engage and educate the customers, right? Are you building the right awareness strategies in terms of bringing out your offer into the market? It could be very tactical in nature. It could be some digital mediums like your webinars or demos or trial licenses and so on and so forth. So your external awareness with your customers become absolutely crucial in that external framework aspects. And I think Faith and Jen spoke about the ecosystem. Your partners are your extended arms and legs in the market, right? So you need to actually have the right co-sell motions with your partners, because you can only do that much with direct selling. You need to actually look at partners to hit the deeper territories within your market, and your co-sell vision together becomes very, very crucial in the way you actually approach the market. And lastly, I think you should also look at the regulatory bodies, especially in India. We have an example where Veeam as a product, right, is pretty much aligned to the data privacy and data sovereignty aspect. So we look at a Digital Data Protection Act very closely, right? So we need to understand these acts and how the offer could be bundled and how the messaging around that could be reached out to the end users and audiences becomes absolutely paramount. So I think these are specifically the points that I can think about in our approach of the internal readiness as well as the external readiness in the market.
Very well said, Kushagra. So I want to actually answer some questions before I'll ask you the next one, because Anna really posed a question: who's buying AI solutions right now and why are they buying? Fantastic question, because there are a lot of AI solution. Anna, what we have seen looking at the market, there are three types of AI solutions that are happening or being adopted. One is a predictions, that the company can make predictions for the market. They look at the data to predict whether how their operational efficiency looks like or revenue growth, whatever its prediction. That's a one capability that most of the engagements we are seeing in the market. The second one is the automation. What kind of workflow automation that can be done, which allows the person to have a higher productivity in the workforce. So maybe it's writing copies or creating social media. Like, I'm just saying from a marketing standpoint, what is that can accelerate the speed of output through the automation process? The third one is the agents. These are the agents who can represent your brand. They can answer a lot of the customer success managers, partner managers, some of the roles which can answer on different places. So you have started to see a lot of people creating their own agents, which is their extension to be kind of answer the basic question. So when you look at those three scenarios in the AI, what we are seeing is a lot of the offers are getting built for that. So Kushagra, you are building like offers for Veeam, especially because there was a strategic partnership that happened with Microsoft with the AI, and a lot of the autonomous capability for cybersecurity detections can happen. What strategies are getting proven for creating a compelling value prop for your value, AI based offers?
No, absolutely. I think a great question. So, the strategies that we sort of devise, we actually keep the current trends and themes, in our mind in terms of building the right value propositions. Of course, it's actually have to be aligned to the kind of offering that we actually have from a solution perspective. So we keep in mind some key themes which the customers are really, looking forward to understand and, solve their problems on. For example, if you look at ransomware, that's a key typical, theme that any customer would be really concerned about, right? So we build our, value proposition positioning of our solution based on certain key themes and topics which customers are really foreseeing as challenges for them. We closely look at the key pain points of the customers and how our offerings and solutions can sort of benefit them in terms of their challenges being solved. Then we also look at aspects such as building some credibility using some use cases or some customer testimonials or some case references where we potentially go to these customers and let them know that, hey, look, we have actually sort of understand your problem. we've solved these problems in different industry verticals, and here's our solution. So please try us out. So that's another area that we actually closely look at. And lastly, talking about understanding the different segments, different whether we are focusing our messaging towards the enterprise segment or the mid-market segment. I think there's a clear differentiation there, and the kind of personas that we need to target, the cohorts that we need to target. So there's no one message fits all kind of a scenario. You need to tailor your messaging as per your personas and cohorts. So these are the few areas that we look at when we devise our value proposition positioning for our offers.
Fantastic. And when you define an offer, there's always a risk and the reward in an ROI. So, Faith, this is for you. What are some strategies that EY is doing to really manage the risk and ROI expectation while implementing a responsible AI? And then I will conclude with you and Jen, like Kush and Jen, to really add more color commentary on it. Is that good?
Sure. Yes. So I'm going to answer this from an EY specific lens and how we're actually doing it. And so I think the others probably will have a different spin on this. But so responsible AI is a key priority for EY, as it is for many other firms. And we've dedicated a team to this, multiple teams to this, but we've also developed a global offering called the Confidence Index, which is a framework that looks at different dimensions across AI models and the specific use cases, such as security. We talked a lot about bias, reliability, explainability, and a number of other dimensions. And so what we're seeing is in the market is, clients can see the power of AI, and I guess specifically Gen AI, but they still don't feel 100% comfortable implementing generative AI solutions because of the risks. So we're kind of capitalizing on this. And so where we've seen success in the market is to work with clients around the responsible AI principles and help them to build these principles and the framework into their products. Or we work with them to co-develop the products that have these responsible AI principles at the core. So, they feel more comfortable. And for us, we're getting that revenue generation by leveraging some of the client problems, which I think ties back to the value proposition, right? And so addressing this through our offering and addressing the risks really focused on our offering. So.
Cool, Faith. Kush, anything to add from a risk and ROI perspective? Jen, I'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah, I actually really agree with some of the things that Faith has already provided. So telling our own stories about how Gen AI adoption has worked and what we've benefited from it really helps. And Accenture story is very similar. 2 years ago, we invested $3 billion on Gen AI. We have more than 1,000 just Gen AI engagements alone. But what we're taking away from that is that we now have a chief AI officer. We have a chief responsible AI officer. And we've been also the huge consumers and buyers of these Gen AI technologies, as well as working with clients to really adopt them, right? So I think through it all, we are able to tell our stories about how we are putting Gen AI and Copilot and other solutions for our 700,000 employees, designing our own security guardrails and the learnings from that, designing our responsible AI policies and how we would bring this to a client to the basically right sizes, right? So I think it's one of those disruption stories where if everybody was building a house with nails and a hammer, and then somebody shows up with a drill hammer, you're just like, oh my God, what is this? This is cool, but it looks really dangerous. So getting that adoption and the readiness for the client, but also explaining what will work and what will not work for them, just given where the industry is right now, that transparency has been very important in our solution and conversations.
Awesome. Kush?
Yeah, so from an internal adoption, I think there are no two ways. I think the adoption of AI within organizations is paramount, and we've already started looking at adopting those principles within our ambit. Gone are the days as a marketer, you would actually create conventional campaigns and do your A/B testing and cross your fingers and hope things would sort of work. But at these times, we as marketers, need AI as an essential sort of catalyst to sort of boost our our campaigns or tactics that we actually sort of build in our day-to-day jobs. So I think with AI coming in, it's important that we sort of use that ethically within our organizations. And from a marketing standpoint, AI is really going to be very complemented with the creative aspects that our marketer really gets to the table, and makes the whole aspect of taking campaigns to market a lot faster. So there is agility and there is quick turnaround with our marketing focus sort of going forward. And within our organization, I think we've already sort of looked at adopting these policies into the mix, and we are already sort of using this in our different functions within the organization.
Fantastic. I'm going to wrap it up. This one was really powerful. Like I think I learned a lot of cool things. Confidence index, that's pretty powerful. Like I have never heard about that, Faith. That's such a great way for companies to actually think about building a confidence index for themselves as well as for the customer. So you actually are driving the responsible AI principle. The second one is theme-based offers, being very precise of the customer pain and developing that was really cool. And also driving the Gen AI adoption stories so that customers can truly see themselves what that transformation looks like. So I want to ask you is, if all these folks who are listening here and they want to partner with your company, what is one advice that you will give them in co-launching? If they have a great product but they want to co-launch with your company, what's one advice you will give them? How do they need to show up or prepare themselves to really have a great conversation or even drive a co-launch with you? So I'll start with you, Jen, first.
Sure. So let me just come off mute. I think one of the greatest things that we do see in the market as we converse about AI is that this is an opportunity where things can scale and we can start thinking about areas where traditional AI and ML cannot solve. So in my day-to-day, I spend time everywhere from top of the house conversations all the way down to the model parameters and the prompt engineering. And just like responsible AI, there's so many different dimensions of how we need to understand Gen AI. So to think about the creative value-based deals, to think about the creative ways we can adopt this to a specific business need, rather than looking at the tool and trying to think of how you're solving this, has been a very important way we're approaching it. So if there is a transformational program that actually is looking at productivity increase or revenue growth, or it's targeting a specific customer section or sales and marketing, there's certain things that the industry needs that does not change just because there's new tooling. So understanding what truly is the business need and then making sure that we're creating a solution and approach together has been a great experience for us.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Jen. Faith?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Jen said. So we have a lot of startup scale-ups that come to us that want to work together, and I think having that differentiator from competitors, because as mentioned on the last panel, there's so many companies out there, and every day new ones are starting. So I think knowing what your differentiator is compared to others in the market, and then I think also even before you get to us, thinking about not just developing a great product, but also developing a product for the end customer. So make sure you start working with clients early on. That could be your build partners. You don't have to have this amazing product, right? But you could work with a customer to develop a capability, a feature that's really fit for market. If you do that, the sooner you'll get to market, and it will be a great market fit. So
amazing, Faith.
Yeah, it might sound very cliched, but I think customer centricity is something that we would actually look at in terms of collaborations. Understanding and focusing on customer pain points is primal, and sort of solving those problems through your product solutions or offers is something that we essentially would look at. And being innovative and having an agile mindset is something which will be absolutely crucial, for us to come together, because you might get the solution sort of right, but there might be situations where there are imperfections coming in. So course correcting on the go, being very agile, and being customer focused is something that the attributes that we would look at eventually. Yeah.
Again, thank you so much. What a great wrap up and advice. So if you are thinking about partnering, whether with EY, Accenture, or Microsoft, or Veeam, or any other brands, think about really coming up with a creative value-based deals, develop a product for customers, very important, and really drive the go-to-market, which is very customer-centric rather than your product-centric. So I think that's kind of the summary I took away. Absolutely insightful, and thank you for being here, and appreciate your time and spending and educating all of us today. Okay, moving on to the next session. Before we go, how was the session and what were your takeaways by hearing Kushagra, Jen, and Faith? Did you get some value? Go ahead and put it in the chat for both of them, all of them. And then right after this, we'll go into the third panel, which will focus on secrets to co-launching your go-to-market offers with hyperscalers with ease. This is a topic, now that we talked about what the opportunity is, what the market size looks like, where is the opportunities coming in AI, and how you need to think about the joint value prop. At the end of the day, everyone wants to know, how do I co-launch with the hyperscalers, and what does that look like? Okay, so first I want to actually set the definition of what co-launch is, because this is very important for you to go. This is an action-oriented panel. They will tell you how to think about it. They have done amazing co-launches in the market. Next slide, Caroline. And for this session, I have Neeti Gupta. She is the founder and CEO of AI Partnership Consultancy. And then we have Dana Howard. She is the vice president for offer management at Kyndryl. We have Elena Kennedy. She's the senior global partner development manager at Microsoft. All three of them really will talk about the co-launch and how to think about co-launch. So, but to give you the frame so we can drive the conversation, the co-launch is really with hyperscalers. It refers to a strategic co-sell go-to-market partnership between the company and the large cloud service providers such as Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. The joint venture actually entails collaborative strategizing, campaign formulation, promotion activities, and market-oriented publicity for your product or your offer launches that is happening. The goal is to leverage the hyperscalers' extensive marketing infrastructure, their reach, and technological innovation to accelerate growth, which enhances market presence and improve the success rate of your new offers in the ecosystem. Going to the next slide, there is a rollout matrix which I created, which really focuses on is the rollout strategy, whether it is a self-service to a managed or an investment strategy, whether it's money, resource, your energy, from low to high. So people who do not have a lot of, resources, they're usually at the first quadrant, which is the bootstrap innovators. These are the companies that handle their own rollout strategies and primarily invest in their own resources, basically leveraging the hyperscaler resources. For example, is the partner marketing center, where they have campaigns, you download, you customize, and you go from there. The second area is you are still doing self-service rollout, but you are getting access to the funding. And these are the companies who are being invited into a co-launch activities, but receive investment and also leverage all the hyperscaler resources. One of the program that was happened in the Women in Cloud was a go-to-market accelerator where women founders went through it, got them ready, and now they're also invited for a co-launch accelerator. The third area is where you have been managed or invited to be managed. They want to experience. These are creative deals. They feel like you can really add value. You have a niche in the space. And that's the area. These are called as the collaborators. They're invited into being an innovative, and they're driving a collaborative campaigns and also benefit from accessing the resources from the hyperscaler. One of the campaign that happened was the Build for 2030, and a lot of our founders were part of it because your investment was very low, but you got the visibility, the extensive managed, go-to-market support from Microsoft to scale in the world. The last one is the strategics. These are the place where you want to be. That's the North Star. All the founders should be driving to build that relationship so you can become the strategic, where you both receive a comprehensive management for rollout, and you also have investment to support with the launch execution with the hyperscaler. For example, is the Adobe Microsoft partnership or OpenAI and Microsoft these are strategics. That's the North Star. But for you to be a strategic, you have to become a collaborator. Today, for this session, we are going to have all the three experts really help you think through how to navigate these quadrants so you can effectively co-launch your offer with hyperscaler. Is that helpful, Dana, Lisa, Niti, Elena? Okay, because all of you asked for this particular content when we were doing the speaker prep, so I want to kind of give people a context of what we are going to be talking about. So starting with each one of you, if you can get the slide down, I will start with you, Niti. If you can introduce yourself, and can you share a successful co-launch experience with a hyperscaler and what made it successful?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chaitra, for inviting me to this panel today. I'm so honored to be with this great group of women here and also be able to talk to a lot of participants today. Hi everyone. My name is Neeti Gupta. I'm the founder and CEO of AI Partnerships Consultancy. I recently founded it. I'm also a doctoral candidate at University of Cambridge, studying the topic AI partnerships. So I'm bringing a lot of those insights back into my practice as well. The way for you to think about what I do and what my company does is that we help you navigate the hyperscalers. I call them the Magnificent Seven, as one of the Bank of America analysts in 2023 called them. And the reason is because they are dominant, they are growing. Some of the market cap for these companies is more than GDPs of nations. And I think it's an important moment for us to acknowledge that this is going to continue to grow, and that's being driven by technologies like AI, which we talked a lot in the last session. The kind of initiatives that I'm getting to work on is, developing indexes like the confidence index. There are a lot of companies have approached the maturity assessment models. Also, research on AI chatbots. I'm also getting a lot of, with my background at Microsoft, a lot of companies asking me to help them do tailored content on Microsoft Copilot. So you will see these are kind of initiatives that are starting to come up. And I'm always surprised when my clients come to me and say, hey, can you help us with this? Because it's usually a new thing that has not been done before. So that's a little bit about me and what I do. And to Chetra, to your point about a successful example of a co-launch that I had the opportunity to work on, I will give you an example of work that I did with Microsoft and VMware, where VMware had a solution in market called the Azure VMware solution, and that's co-created with Microsoft. And you would assume that the co-launch of that would be done as a managed partner launch and would be on your upper right hand quadrant. But when I took this initiative on, I realized that it was actually being bootstrapped with two large companies at the helm. And to make it successful, there were a couple of strategies which are applicable in any co-launch initiatives. One, I had to quickly figure out who the key people were in the virtual team and form a virtual team. And that is super important. Don't do one-on-ones. Get all the identify the right people and then get them on the call. Of course, set the stage up in your one-on-ones with them, but then bring the teams together and then set the roles and responsibility correctly, and then also do what I call the end-to-end plan. And this was something that we then made it as something we did with all co-launches, is this end-to-end plan. What is an end-to-end plan? So let me describe this a little bit. You basically say, okay, what is product doing? What's marketing doing? What's sales teams doing? How do we ready the sales team? What is the enablement team doing? What is the customer success team doing? What's the if you have a support team, then what are they doing? And being able to say across, what is the partnerships team doing? So take stock of all your key stakeholders, make sure that you are thinking about what their roles and responsibilities is in the co-launch, and then orchestrate, just like a very good orchestrator in a music concert, and orchestrate that end to end. And if you don't have that orchestrator, then become one, because you need one to drive that co-launch. Because if you don't do that and you don't do it in a systematic way, what's going to happen is your stakeholders will be unhappy internally. And because now you have a partner involved, because you're co-launching, you're not just launching, and you don't have the stakeholders on the other side, then it's going to be messy. A lot of people will be unhappy, and it also impacts your credibility as the orchestrator, right? So this is one example where we relaunched and co-launched Azure VMware solution, and we did it. And in fact, a lot of Microsoft stakeholders said, hey, this is great, because we had never seen a deck in a this content where we could see what is the value proposition of a solution, which markets it is available in, and what marketing activities are going on at what time, and what's the calendar of events. And then we continue to do that as sustained marketing even after the co-launch. So yes, do the launch, but don't forget that is every quarter you have to take stock of that. And between the two companies, a lot of people changed, and so every quarter we had a rhythm where we actually followed up and said, are these the same stakeholders? Are they doing what they were supposed to do? And today, Azure VMware solution is one of the fastest growing solution in the hyperscaler with Microsoft. And I think that's a really good success story that I was fortunate to be part of in here to tell you today.
Thank you, Niti. That was fantastic. I think you nailed it, because you talked about, like, even with big brands, you were at the bootstrap innovators, right? You had to start somewhere to really build the momentum that was required to become this strategic. Dana, I want to go to you. Introduce yourself, what you do every day, and share a successful co-launch experience with a hyperscaler.
Happy to. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure being here today. I am Dana Howard. I lead go-to-market offering management for cloud services at Kyndryl. I've served in a number of different roles in the IT industry, working 20 years for IBM and for the last 3 at Kyndryl, which is a provider of IT infrastructure services. The successful co-launch experience that I wanted to share here today is when I was with IBM, and we developed an offering in partnership with, relative to IBM, a smaller technology company. And what made it so successful was the energy and the creativity, and most importantly, the boldness of the partner. And what I took away from that experience is that, yes, large enterprises have experience and breadth and proven ways of doing things. And sometimes those things go without question. But a partner can bring a freshness and a boldness that can breathe life into and really make a co-launch successful and unique and special. So I think about that a lot, and I encourage everyone to just bring that energy to everything that you do.
Fantastic, Dana. Lisa, I'll go to you. You are the role model, and you are one of the most amazing founder who really does launch really well. So tell me more about you and the successful co-launches that you are dabbling into right now.
Okay, thank you so much, Chaitra. So it is true, I'm what I would think of as an early stage founder, and the problem we solve is related to the skills gap. So you're probably familiar with, you've probably heard about how we have this huge skills gap in essential skills or leadership skills. And the traditional approach to solving that problem is training programs, coaching programs. However, the skills gap has been getting worse. And so by spending more money on that approach, it won't allow organizations to actually improve the skills gap. So we have a solution that's AI-based. We close the skills gap 3 times faster at half the cost by using AI-assisted coaching. We have the proof and the case studies to demonstrate it as well. We're getting ready to do a co-launch with Microsoft through Mela, and Microsoft co-funded as well. And in terms of successful launches, what I'll say is we've done many different launches with different partners. And rather than tell you about one particular story, what I want to share is my main takeaway on creating a successful launch is around thinking about your launch as a team sport, but probably not in the way that you think I'm going to say. And that is a co-launch with a hyperscaler like Microsoft is like the championship game. And you never want to show up at the championship game as your first co-launch. You want to experience co-launches either on your own, where you're running these all within your own organization, even if you're a small organization like mine, or you want to start finding partners where you can experiment and experience what is it like to do a co-launch with a smaller partner. We've had some partnerships that did not go well, and we've had others that have been hugely successful. So you don't want to have your failure be with the hyperscaler. You want your failure to be with a smaller partner and learn from that so that you never repeat that experience.
Very well said, Lisa. It is being, leading a championship and being part of a championship, right? And with that, Elena, you are the one on the other side helping the partners to participate in a championship. How does that work? So introduce yourself and tell me about a successful co-launch you did with your partner.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. Elena Kennedy, I am a partner development manager here at Microsoft, and I work with emerging partners of ours that are trying to grow their business and incorporate AI. So, maybe a lot of you. And I talk to lots of partners, day in, day out, and have, helped a lot of them, with their co-selling with Microsoft. I've only been at Microsoft about 3 years now, but prior to Microsoft, I was at several different ISV partners who, I was essentially working to partner with Microsoft. So I sort of know both sides, and I know, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly, or the hard of partnering with Microsoft, and how to really tap into, programs and funding to, be successful, in your partnership. So, one successful co-launch that I did in my past was, I guess as we'd classify it, at the strategic level, it was 2 large organizations, which was, super high pressure, lots of eyes, lots of hands trying to guide. And so I would say that, one of the, pieces of success was to go off of what Needy said, because Needy, you had a lot of great, content of, how to really, launch a great, do a great co-launch, is to, create that core team with a single point of contact on each work stream. And, we probably had 10 different work streams, from PR to product, to market, to partnering, to customers, to enablement. And really having that single point of contact in the beginning, made our communication and that core team, that, everybody that was responsible for the co-launch, sort of manage the various people who tried to put their fingers in and push things a different way. And it really helped us have a very cohesive, streamlined week over week, month over month march towards the launch. But I think if I could pick out, one of the really sort of tangible things that helped us get buy-in from both of our enormous fields at launch time was having that early adopter win story. We could include it in our PR, we included it in our enablement, and so we got buy-in from the field that this was something that addressed a customer need and how it addressed that customer need, and we dissected it and created this, what was the recipe as part of the enablement, and how do we get that win, which then sort of fed into what our very clear call to action was on launch day and what our offer was on launch day. And it resulted in a very nice stock jump for both of our companies on the day of launch. So it was pretty exciting. And, I definitely think back to those early win stories as something pivotal. So that's me. And thanks.
I'm so excited just to be here with all of you, because this is going to be a fun conversation. So let's start with the myths. There are lots of myths around co-launches and co-sell, but I want to really dispel some of the co-launch myths. So I'll start with you, Neeti, first, and then go around, and then we'll continue with all the other questions that we prepared, because I think after listening to it, I said, yeah, we need to dispel some of the myths. So Neeti, what's a myth that you hear, and what's the reality? Unmute.
The myth that I hear a lot, Chaitra, is that co-launches can happen on their own, and they don't. So I just want to kind of debunk that myth today. There is always that quarterback, if I had to use a sports analogy here, who actually is behind the scenes making sure that this game is played well, as Lisa was using the, it's a team sport, and they are multiple teams, sometimes two, sometimes more if there are more partners involved. And so those quarterbacks are actually important. And no, these co-launches don't happen on their own, and they don't happen well without executive sponsors either. So, make sure you have your quarterback, make sure you know who your partner's quarterback is, and make sure you have executive buy-in up front so that your co-launches go smoothly. Because trust me, there will be some team that don't want to go play along, and then you'll have to go back to your executive sponsor and get them reeled in, because these co-launches with hyperscalers, if not on your side because you're a small organization, but on their side, does need that orchestration that Elena was talking about. So yeah.
Well said, Neeti. Dana, what about you?
Another myth is that you develop your offering and then you develop your launch strategy. So that is a myth. The reality of a successful co-launch is that you start at the beginning and you are participating in and planning your co-launch based on the development phases and the decisions that are made in the strategic alignment, and the decisions made in development are then influencing your launch plan. So that is a myth. You should start launch planning from the get-go, because everything that goes along in the process will influence and make for a very successful launch.
Fantastic, Dana. Elena.
Sure. I would say, just sort of to bounce off of, what I just explained as, a successful co-launch, being with a strategic, we were, a managed partner. The myth is that you don't need to be a managed partner, and you, just like Neeti explained, you don't even need, somebody on the other side. There is so much content out there, campaigns in a box, press release templates, funding, that, the myth is, you don't have to have, you don't have to be managed, and you can really build this with your own team, create content that looks like it is co-launched, and really take it to market without anybody knowing that you did it on your own. And it's one of the things that, I talk to partners about all the time, is to really get in there and understand how your cloud providers are going to market, and then just align right with them and create that messaging that, is right in line, because the customers are already hearing that message from the cloud providers. So you'll be speaking to something that they know, and so you can do it on your own, but you do need to invest the time and effort into creating your story in alignment with those cloud providers.
Very well said, Elena. Lisa.
I think I'll essentially echo what everybody has said, or plus one to what everybody has already said. And especially for those of you who are more in the early stage and you're looking to start co-launching with partners, whether that be the hyperscalers or you're starting off with a smaller partner, is I held back on doing that for a while because I thought I had to already have in my mind a clear idea of what that offer would be. And what I've learned is exactly what Dana said. It's really about coming together and being on the same page, sort of philosophically, and it's thinking that there's something we could do together that would benefit us both, and then engaging with understanding what are they trying to achieve with a partnership, and then looking at how can you support them in getting that and also benefit for yourself as well. So I think you don't have to have it already clear in your mind when you start the conversation.
Very well said, Lisa. Like for me personally, I used to think you need massive amount of money to co-launch. Otherwise, you can't launch. But I realized is doing multiple co-launches that you don't really need the money. You need the mindset alignment, and you needed to know how to tap into all the raw materials, whether it's resources or content or case studies, to create the offer. So you could actually start the launch with your hyperscaler, and then you can go from one level to another. So that's fantastic. Coming to Neeti, what are the critical success factors when people need to co-launch a go-to-market with a hyperscaler? Are there any critical success factors that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, I think I'll echo some of the points that were made earlier in the panel. I would say having an executive sponsor is a number one, whether you're small or big. If you are going to market with a hyperscaler, then make sure if it's your CEO, or if you are the CEO, then if you have a board, then someone is aligned with you on that. This is what you're going to do. Second, I would say is having a real customer win is a big advantage. So if your engineering team has put together something and you're being pulled into co-launching, and there's no beta customer, no customers ever seen the solution, please don't co-launch. It's a critical success factor that you have a customer success story to be able to tell. And I think the third is a clear articulated value proposition will take you a long way in co-launching. So I would say these are my top three critical success factors in your co-launch story.
Very well said, Niti. Dana, now coming to the companies when they're trying to align their objectives, knowing what the critical success factor, what are kind of the objectives they need to align and expectation with the partners, especially hyperscaler partners, so they can ensure a smooth co-launch?
Yes. So aligning objectives is so important for a successful co-launch. I think that's something I would add to Niti's answer as well, as far as what is so critical to ensure that you have, and it's that alignment. And we're focusing in this panel on co-launch, which makes us think that it's sort of at the end of the road or the culmination of activity. But to ensure a smooth co-launch, when we get there, we really need to start working together early and being a part of those meetings, discussions, early conversations where we're defining and aligning on the product strategy and what makes our collective product or offering or solution better through our partnership. So aligning on why are we in this together? Why are we co-developing? Why is this a good decision for our two companies? And really having clarity on the unique value proposition and why we are better together. And importantly, in order to stay aligned throughout the process, is staying true to that throughout. Knowing what your strength is, knowing why we decided to partner, and remaining really kind of true to that throughout the process, so that we don't kind of step in each other's lanes. And always focus on outcomes. So I was nodding my head during the last panel as they were talking about, client outcomes, what's in it for the partner. To be a good partner, consider what are the outcomes or what are the metrics that your partner is after. Now, specifically, we're talking about hyperscalers. So in most cases, with every hyperscaler with whom I've worked, they focus on cloud consumption. So understanding that and understanding what is going to motivate your partner really at any role throughout the enterprise, attune your approach, even your language, to show that you can help them be successful and meet their objectives in their own vernacular. And then after, and in addition to kind of aligning strategy and business objectives, then get very tactical and find alignment on what you will do together in execution mode. You don't want to launch and then sit back, and wait and see what happens. And it's also always easier to stay aligned when we are active and we're actively working together. So make co-launch very tangible. One example would be anchoring your co-launch plan in a sales play targeted to very specific client profiles or use cases with very specific messaging. And then back to that notion that we're here for a reason, we're better together. We bring different parts to this whole. Acknowledge that you might be targeting the same customer at large, but what makes the partnership special is that you have different contacts, you have different routes, and therefore you can be more successful because you're maximizing and optimizing and multiplying your channels. And that's also another great place to show alignment when you can just be unified in front of your end customer.
Dana, I think the aligning to the outcomes and building a partnership for achieving a joint outcomes, I think is like one of the key things, because the world that we are leading into, it's not about how cool your product is and what is the value and the outcome you can bring to the table. Elena, are there some best practices that you have seen managing and coordinating resources between the companies and hyperscalers during the co-launches?
So obviously communication is key, and weekly meetings are great to keep on things on task and the work streams that I talked about before, but setting up a Teams channel or a Slack channel for that moment in time collaboration right in the flow of work, I think really helps accelerate decision making. And especially you have that core team, you have that single point of contact for each area of the co-launch that can weigh in and help keep things moving. But I know this is going to sound like I'm pitching for Microsoft products, but whatever your AI is, I really want to tell this audience that you can think about AI and incorporating it into your solutions. But here at Microsoft, we were gifted with our co-pilots a while ago, and we're basically incentivized to use it every day. And if I could just tell you how much that helped alleviate note taking, follow-up action items, summarizing sentiment in a meeting while the meeting's happening, it is so powerful. And I really feel like if these emerging companies could invest in using AI first as your customer zero, your creativity and your productivity is just going to skyrocket, and it's going to really fuel a great co-launch. Not even just alleviating the note taking and things like that, but like I said, understanding sentiment and generating ideas. We asked it for ideas in different meetings. There's just so much we haven't tapped into, and I think it could be just so powerful for everybody to start using it themselves to see how much easier and better, and how much better you can collaborate together. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, I would say is, I think, Elena, as you talked about, is the driving the communication for leading a championship game. I always say co-launch is a championship, and you need quarterbacks on the two sides, as Neeti talked about. So Lisa, I want you to talk about is, as a company that you are leading these co-launches now, how are you planning to foster that successful partnership? Talk through this whole, your own thinking, your strategies that you're going through, so that others can also take away from this conversation.
Yeah. Well, and my input will probably be more relatable for the smaller organizations. So for the smaller organizations, you don't have tons of resources. You don't have lots of time, you don't have lots of team members, you don't have lots of money to invest in every single opportunity. And I think the reason that that's so important is that every partner has not only their own goals, but they also have their own company culture. And when I think back to some of the launches that we've already done, we've had several successful, but we've also had one or two that were not very successful. And when I sort of unpack, what was it that made it not successful? It was, we didn't have cultural alignment. And I didn't know that at the time. This was a learning experience from me. But a takeaway that I can offer you is to think about what is the ecosystem or the community like, and do you resonate? So when I think about, there's many different there's a handful of hyperscalers that we could work with. I resonate personally so much with the Microsoft ecosystem. I live about 6 blocks away from Google. I live about 2 miles away from Amazon. I live about 5 miles away from Microsoft. So I'm right in the center. And the one that I am always drawn to is Microsoft. I just gel with the people. I gel with the culture. I love the technology. I can't imagine working with any other partner. So I think it's important to think about that cultural fit and where you resonate, because when you work together in a partnership, it's going to be hard. You will probably run into problems and challenges and hurdles and things that you have to get over, and you have to get over them together. And it's so much easier when you gel and you connect with the people and you fit culturally.
Oh my God, this one was such a great panel. I came out with, I was writing the notes. I actually wrote down the 5 C's of winning a co-sell and a co-launch championship. So here's my 5 C's that I took away, because I love frameworks, and this one was perfect framework. Culture, really identify the culture and your culture, and see which hyperscaler culture is the closest. And that's what Lisa talked about. If you can talk their language, you can feel it. It's very, very important. Second is drive the communication strategy. You need to know how you're communicating, and that's where the orchestration comes in. Very important to really think about that communication strategy when you're driving the co-launch. The third area is collaboration. This is where Dana talked about, is the relationships. This is where you're driving the relationship to drive the outcomes. So you're not just there to have just parties, but really drive outcome driven. And last one is commit to tangible outcomes, tangible execution that everyone can talk about, and then really drive the impact. And last one is co-launch, that it should feel like a party. If a co-launch is causing a lot of pressure and stress, then you're really not co-launching. If you're co-launching, it should feel like a party. You make friends. It's really fun and it's really good. Do you think I summarized all your insights in 5 C's? Okay, with that, I think we nailed the today's summit. I feel is all 4 of you did a fabulous job in helping everybody to take it from high-level concept of how much investments are available to really making it tangible, which is how to co-launch with a hyperscaler with your offer to really drive the outcome, which is revenue, productivity, and profitability for your company. So now that we are going to go into a fun part of the experience. Who's ready? This is more of networking. Ready? If you want to stay, great, but I would love, under 50 people are here. So who is ready for partying and networking right now? Put it in the chat. And before we go into the networking, I want to ask you, what were your takeaways from today's conversations, from the panels? Because we had 15 amazing speakers who kind of gave from the breadth and the depth what it takes for you to drive your co-launch with a hyperscaler. Go ahead, put it in the chat. So while you're thinking, I want to give you 4 offers that are available from Women in Cloud, and then we'll go into the networking. Is that good? Say yes in the chat. That way I know you can listen to me and we can make it happen. Yes, beautiful Ice. Bootstrap innovators can succeed. Do not have to be a first launch to be with a hyperscaler. Very good, Gloria. Find another partner and do it. Let's go. I love it. Okay, the first offering that is available is the Empower Her Access Awards. So this one is our Prestige Awards dinner that's happening. The award winners will be announced on Friday. We had some amazing nomination across 9 categories. This particular award celebration dinner is to recognize the top of the top of the top ecosystem that really did some amazing work in the ecosystem. So I want all of you to be part of it. If you need a special code for joining us, let us know. We'll share that. It's a 30% discount code available for this particular event. There's only 100 spots available. So please take a moment. This is where the real party happens. This is the where we all celebrate each other. Right after that one, we have is the brand photo shoot. This is where you can come and really get your brand photo shoot done about you. You are the brand. And if we have created as a networking experience, we want your brand to look like iconic brands in the ecosystem. So that event is happening the next day from 10:30 to 1:30, again in Bellevue. So right after the awards, you have is a photo shoot. So if you want to hang out more, talk to each other, this is where the deals happen. So if you're interested to really create deals, talk to each other, partner with each other, come to the brand photo shoot experience. The third opportunity is the WIC Insider Circle. This is created for you to become a thought leader in the AI, cyber, as well as Copilot. So really helping you with a preparedness program. We are developing 100 leaders in the ecosystem to stand out. We have partnered with Bright Talk, and that gives us access to 30 million people, really allows us to really elevate your brand to be anchored in the marketplace as someone that customers can come, because now you have talked on the Bright Talk, because you cannot just go and present there. It is like the TED infrastructure for the tech folks, and all the intellectual tech conversations are happening on the Bright Talk. But what we have done is done a full structured programming for you to be positioned as a thought leader. By doing this preparedness, we can give you access into different opportunities to speak, and as simple as coming and speaking on the WIC summits, or whether it is our award dinners, you will be invited, because it allows you to kind of move up the chain and then become the TED speaker in the world. Okay, so that's the intention. We want to get 100 speakers to be truly the top-notch speakers in the ecosystem.